Well, welcome to Character Animator and very good morning. For me, it's just in the evening in Rotterdam. But hey, let's get started with Character Animator, real-time animation tool. And I hope that you're enjoying it because this is the first of actually 2 sessions. I see my friend Kevin McMahon is already in the room as well. We will do Character Animator more advanced stuff later on in the next hour. But first, let's start with the basics. And let's start with introducing myself. As you can probably hear from my accent, I'm not a native speaker, but I'm Dutch. So I live in the Netherlands near Rotterdam, and I'm a teacher in media design and animation. That's my favorite subject. And I'm an education leader from Adobe. So that gives me a front row seat at Adobe to start playing around with all these tools for my curriculum at the GLR. It's a vocational career school in Rotterdam. Teach students about 16 to 20 years of age, and they're all busy with their careers in media and design. So pretty fun stuff. Earned a lot of badges along the way, and I always make the joke that I'm 37 years in education already, because I started at the age of 4. But yeah, really like being in school, being a teacher, and hanging around with those young guys and girls, of course. So that's me in a nutshell. But why you are here is because of Character Animator, and hopefully because of me as well. We've got some great assets for you. So if you want to join along in this hour, Kevin has made 2 fantastic characters for you to work with. And there are lots of default characters as well, which come with Character Animator. And of course, lots of resources can be found on our Spark webpage, the Adobe at Learning Human page. There are lots of links in there to other sessions as well we are doing this week. And of course, your pathway to all the assets that we're providing to follow along. So please, I'm sure my friends in the chat will leave the link in there. So please make use of those assets. Animation is hard to do. It's very hard to master, especially because it takes for ages to create an animation. When you're thinking of an animation, you've got, in my case, 25 frames a second, which need to be animated. In America, 30 frames per second, which need to be animated. So it's a lot of time and effort to create an animation. It's fun, but it takes a lot of work. And then you have to take care of all the animation principles as an animator. You have to think about staging, about stretching and squashing, and lots of things. 12 animation principles, quite a lot, and lots of keyframes. So this is not really motivating to start working with animation, I think. But Character Animator is. Character Animator makes it a lot more fun to work with, because animation is very, very important in education. It's a way to do storytelling. And I think education is also about storytelling. So why not bring animation in your classroom? As I said earlier, it's hard to do. It's a lot of work, but Character Animator makes it fun to do and little work. So that's a nice combination. So what can you do with Character Animator? This is a few examples that I'd like to use in my classroom. First of all, in the left top corner, of course, we all recognize Homer Simpson. That was actually my first experience with Character Animator. It was still in beta at Adobe Max. I think it was 2016, 4 years ago. So a relatively young tool. And they were live animating Homer Simpson on national television. So you could phone in the studio, ask Homer questions, and he would respond immediately. So that was very, very new at that time. And amazing. I know there were some late night talk shows as well when Hillary and Trump were a guest in the late night shows as a character, which was fun as well. So there are lots of ways to do some live footage with Character Animator on television or, of course, in your classroom. For me myself, I've run a character animator competition over the last 2 years with my students and students from around the world. I think about 200 students around the world were joining in this competition and talking with their character about freedom. Last episode of the competition. Which was fun to connect with other students around the world as well, with use of their characters and their imagination. So I'd like to show you one brief example from Larissa, who won second prize in that competition. Of course, one of my students.
The Netherlands is almost about to celebrate their 75th anniversary to their freedom, but the freedom they're going to celebrate isn't the only form of freedom that exists. Hi, I'm Larissa, and freedom to me takes shape in all sorts of things. It can take form in your speech, which gives you your own opinion on others, or things like politics, entertainment, or food. It can take form in your appearance, as the way you want to style yourself, letting you choose whatever you want to wear, whether it be weird looking socks or a high hat. It can also take form in who you want to be in the future, a chef, a teacher, or maybe even an artist. With that freedom, you won't let anybody get in your way, because with freedom, you can choose whoever you want to be.
Beautifully told by Larissa. And this was a combination of a character animator, and I think she used Adobe Animate as well. There are my slides. Wrong slideshow. There we go. She made a combination of multiple tools. So Character Animator is of course the tool used while you see the character and the character talks. She moves her limbs, and it's not that much work as well. A great resource, and probably that can be shared in the chat as well, are the tutorials from OK Samurai, the product lead of Adobe. Makes really great tutorials about the tool. Is a really there is an update recently, a few days ago, and immediately there's a new tutorial about the latest releases. So please join that YouTube channel as well. He likes to have followers, but he's really nice to follow. Really great guy. So in order to use Character Animator this hour and Kevin's hour after this, what do you need? Well, of course, you need to have a computer with a webcam. You need to have Character Animator, and you need to have Photoshop and or Illustrator to create your artwork in. And those are basically the basic default tools that you need to start creating. So let's start with a demo in Character Animator. Let's fire it up, and hopefully you can still see this as well. So let's start with the default interface of Adobe Character Animator. And this is the welcome screen that you see. And you can see it's already coming with lots of basic default characters which you can use. And they're already rigged. And rigging means that the structure within the character is already been set up. So it will listen to the webcam and it will follow your lead immediately. So these are great characters. There are even more options available on the internet, on the web. So see more, you will find tutorials, other characters, and lots of stuff to get you started with. So a very interesting welcome screen to get yourself started. In the top left corner, there are 4 views, 4 workspaces, if you will. So we are in the welcome screen right now in the home. But creating a character is actually in 3 steps. You are going to rig your character once you've made it inside of Photoshop or Illustrator. Then you need to record it or stream it live through YouTube, Facebook, or whatever solution you'd like to use. So let's start with rigging. I've already got one of my assets open. My character created in Adobe Illustrator. And in here we will find the layer structure. I don't know if you are aware of Photoshop and Illustrator, but both tools use layers, and every single layer is very, very important in Character Animator, because when you name it correctly, Character Animator will understand, okay, this is a head, this is an arm, this is an eye, this is an eyebrow, etc. And that will make it very easy. The hardest part is to keep apart what is left and what is right. Finally, you've mastered left and right, and then in Character Animator it's the other way around, because you need to think in terms of the character. So this is the character's right arm, for us left, but it is his right arm and his left arm over here. So that's the thing that you need to be aware of. Left eyes and right eyes, it's all switched. But other than that, it's very easy to rig your character once you've put in the correct naming conventions. So that's basically what you do in the rigging panel, making sure that the structure is okay and that it can do whatever you'd like it to do. Then, of course, there's a recording option. And this is challenging. See if it's still working with both Zoom using my webcam and Character Animator, but it does the trick. And in here you can see already the basic defaults of Character Animator working in the recording mode. So we're actually in the studio right now. It's using my face over here as a lead actually to create the animation. There are all sorts of red dots around my face and two blue dots in the eyes. Those are the tracking points. So whenever I set a rest pose for the camera, the head of the character jumps into place again. The camera notices my dots around the cheek, the mouth, the nose, and the eyebrows, which will follow along as well. Something that my wife doesn't really appreciate when I do this, but hey, Character Animator, I can do whatever I'd like. So this is something that really works immediately. Very fun. And of course, the blue dots in the eyes is the irises of the eyes. So when I look left and right, and in a well-lit room, it will do the trick. Even when you're visually handicapped and need a pair of glasses, it's still working. So that's basically the default of recording, the recording workspace. And of course, there's stream as well. The main difference between recording and streaming is the timeline. Of course, when we are creating an animation, it takes an amount of time, a few seconds or maybe longer. So you need to have a timeline. When you are streaming live, there is no timeline. There's just the option to go live and then let it roll. So there isn't a stream option, but you can add some controllers for the character, which I'm sure Kevin will show you later on. To get some triggers in there. So an angry looking face already under a trigger underneath your one of the keys on your keyboard is a very cool option. So this is Character Animator, not a really complicated interface, if you ask me, but it can do very, very cool stuff. Are you happy what you're seeing? Looking good? I see some nodding over there. Cool.
Matthijs, I was just going to say the character is looking lovely. He's even lovelier than the real Matthijs.
Yeah, the basic character is, I think, 2 years old already, so he's a bit younger than I am, and better shaved.
He's got a good shirt on too, so very nice.
True. So yeah, this is the basics. So let's start with the welcome screen again and see how you can get started with Character Animator when you don't have your character yet, but want to make use of one of the default characters which come with Character Animator.
We have a quick question.
Oh yeah, sure.
Anne asks, is it keyable?
Is it keyable? So in terms of can you make keyframes for it? I think that's the question. Yes, it is. Actually, I will show you when I'm going to create a little recording. You will see the keyframes and things that you can do. So I will park that question for a moment, but we'll address it, or otherwise, please let me know.
Anne's clarifying. She says, no, does it have a mat?
Oh, keyable. It's actually transparent. So the background is absolutely transparent. So when you combine it with Premiere Pro or After Effects, it has a transparent background already. So you don't have to key it. Cool. Good question. Keep them coming. So let's start with. I'm guessing that Kevin will show you more of Illustrator later on. So I'm gonna jump into Photoshop. So Chloe, the basic character, comes in Photoshop and Illustrator layers. So I'm gonna jump into Photoshop for this character. I'm gonna start up with a new scene. There she is. And it's already like this. And to show you that it's by default transparent, we can turn off the white background as well, but it's all layered. So what you see on the background isn't actually there. So it's always transparent no matter what color you're choosing over here. So this is Chloe already working, and see her hair dangling along her head. Also something that you can add to your character. So let's see how she's built up. Let's go to the rigging workspace and see her layers. And there are quite some layers in here. So you see every single bit of hair that she has her own layer in order to make it dangle. She's got her eyebrows left and right, lashes, eyes, quite a lot of things in her head. And the whole idea is of the structure needs to be correct, needs to be accurate. So we've got a layer for Chloe, a layer for the head, or actually a group layer for the head, and a group layer for the body. And of course, we can alter it as well, which I will show you later on in Photoshop. But the fun thing is to start recording and see how that works, what that looks like. So let's start off with a basic default character. And let's start with a recording. So when I hit the red button, the recording button, that will allow you to make a brief recording of maybe the spoken words. Let's tell a brief joke. Where does a cow watch films? At the movies. That's a really great joke. Probably you can hear the audio as well right now. So it's got its recording and already the recording of the basic acting, if you will. Where does a cow watch films? At the movies. Perfect. But of course, there are multiple things that you want to do with the acting, the poses of the character. And I'm a guy, I can only do one thing at a time. So I'd like to separate everything, every stage that I want to make a recording of. Most of the times when I use a recording inside of Character Animator, is just focus on the spoken words first, and maybe the visual expressions already, and then later on add some extra animations in there as well in a second go. But actually, I always start with the recording at first of the audio. On the right-hand side, we can see all the behaviors that come with Chloe. Quite a lot, and every single behavior with a red dot in front of it will be recorded. So what I've done already is the lip syncing. I don't want to record that again, so I'm gonna disable the lip syncing, and then it won't overwrite all the keyframes that have been made for the mouth movement. I want to focus on the facial expressions. Didn't do a really great job at that the first go, so I need to do that again. And of course, the audio. Where does a cow is already there, so I don't want to record the audio again as well. So one funny joke is enough. So let's disable the microphone. There we go. So it will follow my lead. but doesn't do anything with the audio and not with the lip syncing. So let's listen to that joke again. Hit the recording button. It will give you a countdown from 3 to 1 again. And that's stage 2. Where does a cow watch films? At the movies. Okay, so that's a little bit more a movement of the hand. I don't think I will win an Oscar for the acting that I just did, but let's see what the difference is. Where does a cow watch films? At the movies. Cool. At least I think and hope you agree. And that just within a few minutes, there's already some sort of an animation in there. So that's the thing that I like in my classroom is you you open up Character Animator in front of the students, and within a few minutes they have a success story. They've got an animation in there, and hopefully want to do more with it. So that's the cool thing. Of course, there's more. We can do this as well with Chloe. We can do some movement. Actually, the first time when my students are seeing Character Animator, they're trying to move their arms as well and are disappointed that it doesn't do that yet. Character Animator follows the lead of the face. It doesn't do anything with the depth because, of course, my hands can come in front towards the camera, or they make use of the depth. The webcams in your computer aren't really good at that yet. So that's something technology must be working on, or Adobe is working on. But yeah, that doesn't work yet. So you need to do that by hand. And this, what I'm doing right now is dragging. I'm dragging the hand. So the option, the behavior is the dragger over here. So the dragger will allow you to animate that as well. So what I've done is the facial expression already, and the eye gaze has been done. So what leaves me with the dragger, the basic options of that. So when I make a recording again, I can play with one of her hands because I only got one mouse. So here it goes. Where does a cow watch films? At the movies. I'm still working on my facial expressions, but that wasn't recorded. So now her hand is moving as well. Let's do it again for the other hand. Where does a cow watch films? At the movies. There we go. Now we've got 2 hands moving. The other thing is, by default, what I don't really like is that her hands keep in the same position. So when I move her hand, it stays in that position. By default, you can disable that option. So when I open up the dragger over here, there's a little flyout. There we go, or a drop down actually. And after the movement, it stays. It says hold in place, so it stays there. But I'd like to alter it to return to rest. And then when I move her hand, it will go to the original position, the position that I've created in Photoshop. Actually, the Adobe team has created in Photoshop for this one. So that's able. You're able to do that over there. An important thing to notice is when you are recording your character. Maybe you want to add multiple characters in Character Animator. You need to enable or select the layer that you want to make a recording of. So if no layers are selected, or you've got your background selected, because that's also an option, then you won't be seeing any difference in the character. So always select the layer that you want to use. Let's see. And keep those questions coming along the way. Maybe you are tagging along and trying to work with Character Animator as well. We'd like you to share out your footage that you're creating on the Slack channel or on social media. We really like to see your camper, your scouts moving. Please take a look at the assets.
We do have a question from Samantha.
Okay, cool.
She says, can you import audio for it to mimic?
Yes, you can. I didn't prepare that question, so I need to search for it. I know there's some audio somewhere. But yeah, that's something that you come across with in a classroom as well. For me, myself, before Corona, I had 64 students in a large lab, and then it's impossible to record the audio in the classroom with all the rumbling around. So I always advise them to take out their cell phones, go to the corridor and make a recording over there, and then come back with the audio, and that will work.
Samantha says, no need to demonstrate, just good to know I can use other voices and not my own.
Definitely, yeah. That's also a good reason if you don't want to use your own voice. Yeah, just import the audio, and then compute take from scene audio, and then Character Animator will listen to the audio, if you will, and create the correct mouth positions. So yeah, that's basically the default of this workspace. Getting your character in there on the timeline in a new scene, and make sure that you take it one step at a time when you're creating an animation. And then it will work perfectly. And of course, when you're done and you want to record everything again, don't forget to highlight the red dots in front of the behaviors, or else it won't record it. So let's have a look inside of the character. Over here, we've got our project bin. In here, actually, that's the library of all the products or all the assets that you're creating, the scenes and the characters. So I've got the Photoshop Chloe over here. And of course, this has got a location as well. So it's in the same folder as your project is living. So where you saved your project. So I'm going to edit the original, and then it will open up that particular Chloe, which comes with your project. Let's make it a widescreen and give some more room for the layers. There we go. And this is basically the layer structure inside of Photoshop. So we've got a folder named plus Chloe, and plus lets Character Animator know that this is a character. And the other pluses let Character Animator know that it's animatable, if you will. I don't know if that's a correct word actually, but if if Character Animator needs to follow the lead with the webcam, then it has a plus sign. So if it's animating, some of the layers don't have the plus sign, then they will follow the lead of the group itself. So if the head is moving, the lashes will follow as well, but not on their own. And of course, everything is built up within groups. So if I've got my left eye, or actually Chloe's left eye, which is on the right side, we've got a blink. That's just a little dash. The eyelid, the pupil, eyeball, and the eye white on the background. And of course, same goes for the right eye. So this structure of everything is needed in order to make it work. One of the first assignments with my students is, well, open Chloe or any of the other characters and just figure out the layer structure and just altering the character a bit. So if you don't want to make promotion for Character Animator, you can get rid of that layer. It's that's not too nice. It's an unnamed layer. But in this,
Todd is asking, is the plus sign just added when you name the folder, i.e. not a setting?
You need to add the plus sign yourself. So, and then you let Character Animator know what to do with it. It translates into a crown in Character Animator. So when we take a look at the rigging panel with all the layers as well, a plus sign is a crown over here. So if I enable a crown in here, that will do the trick as well. But yet, always starts in my classes with going through all these layers and see the structure and try to change bits. So let's brush this out. Or just delete it. For some reason, it's still in a layer on top. Didn't see that. So if I change it, it will do that. And when I save the character with Command S on the same location, it will update directly in Character Animator. And there you go. So it's always a good habit to alter bits to make it more your own character, save it and check if everything is still working in Character Animator, if you didn't break anything. So that's basically the main structure of Character Animator. So also it's possible to add stuff to it. Let's delete the logo layer. These are the neck and the shadow part over here. Let's leave that as this. Maybe you want to create a little bit more a boy-like character instead of a girl. Probably you will need to delete some of the hair layers in order to make that happen. So just delete some layers. I always try to click on it and see what I'm selecting. The hair in the background as well. There we go. The clip and the hair top. It's really bald. Let's delete that. Maybe something like this. Save it again. There we go. And go back to Character Animator. It will update, and there you go. So that's really easy to create a character of yourself, and it's still working. And within the first lesson with the students, you've got your own little animation, which still works. Maybe I need to get rid of the eyelashes as well. But yeah, this is the basics of that part. Chloe also comes with some great triggers. Triggers are options that you can trigger with your keyboard or a MIDI controller. And there are some characters over here. So if I hit the Q, it will put the hands to the hips. With the W, Chloe will wave. Also nice. So those are options as well. A little bit more advanced, but the more you get underneath a trigger, the cooler the animation gets. And yeah, most of the characters already have a nice animation in there, in the triggers. So let's go back to the. We're still in the scene. Let's go to the scene and try to get a background behind the character. That's very easy to do. Just go to File and Import, and then basically you can import every image or audio file in there. So let's go to my Downloads folder, and I've got the background of the Learning Human 2020, and just drag it from your project bin underneath your character, and then it will pop up. There we go. But of course, it's a bit too small. When I would create a bigger image, that would be better in Photoshop or something. But what I can do is go through all the properties on the right hand side, and there are some position and scale options as well. So this scale is 100%. If I make it bigger like this, that will work as well. And now, of course, coming back to the question, is it keyable? Now, of course, the background isn't transparent anymore because there is an image in the background. But yeah, this will render out perfectly as a nice video. Okay, of course, you want to render out your video when you're done creating your character. That's an option from the export, so file and export option, and then you can connect it to the media encoder. That's also another tool from Adobe, which will allow you to render out a video. But you could also dynamic link it to Premiere Pro or After Effects. And actually, the funny thing is this shows you the website of Adobe. And that's telling us that you just can import it inside of Premiere Pro or After Effects. So they could have told me in the menu already, but yeah, the link to the website shows you how to work with Character Animator in combination with Premiere Pro or After Effects. So that's pretty cool. But in this case, I'd like to export out the video with the media encoder. And it will ask me where to save my my MP4 file, the H.264 video. I'm gonna use my desktop for that again. And then when it opens the media encoder, we will need to press return in order to render out the video. It's a render queue. It will make a queue of all the animations that you're about to create with Character Animator, and we'll ask you to start that queue to render out everything. So this is no, not Character Animator. This is the media encoder. On the right hand side, well, when there's only one person waiting, you can't call it a queue yet, but this is the queue. It will create an H.264, same settings as Character Animator, and this is the location. Still correct, desktop. So hit enter or hit the start queue button, and that will render out the video. There you go. Shouldn't take that long. And we can see it rendering all the frames down below. Are there any questions in the meantime while we're waiting for the media encoder to render out a beautiful video?
There are a couple of questions.
Okay, shoot. Let me know.
So Anne asks, how do you enlarge the character like your original version where you just saw the head and the shoulders?
Okay, yeah. Head, shoulders.
A little hard to demonstrate while it's rendering, maybe.
Well, it's a separate tool, the media encoder, so that's cool. You can jump back into Character Animator and let's rearrange it a bit. So let's make it a zoom session for Chloe. And of course, we can select the Chloe layer, and she has the same properties as the background. A bit more actually, but she's got her transform options. So we can move along the X and Y position, not the Z or Z position just yet. Who knows? And we can scale her up. So she was 50%, but we can zoom in by scaling up. And of course, remembering this is Photoshop artwork. So when your character is really small inside of Photoshop, it will show pixels. And if you are working with Illustrator, those are curves and will always stay very smooth. But yeah, be aware of zooming in. Photoshop characters will show you some edges if you go too far. So that answers that question.
We also have a question from Seth. He says, can I import video as a background?
Actually, I haven't done that yet, so don't know if that's possible. But if I want to combine video with Character Animator, I always tend to use After Effects or Premiere to do that. But let's see what's possible. No video in here. So that's when you try and jump into the other two tools. and add your video in there.
Just so you know, you have 10 minutes remaining.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Let's fire up Premiere Pro as well to see if that will make it more clear. In the meantime, the media encoder is ready. So let's open the video and see the beautiful animation. There we go. Where does a cow watch films? At the movies. I can't keep hearing that joke. Yeah. So that's our first animation with Character Animator, and I'm going to share this one as well on the Slack channel, and I hope that you will follow. And let's see what you can do with Character Animator. That's going to be fun.
We have another question from Anne.
Yeah, sure.
She says, "Are the included characters vector? Should I redo them in Illustrator? And if you are planning on increasing them in size?"
It all depends on the style that you want to achieve. I think when you want to make a more drawn art animation, if you will, then you tend to go to Photoshop. Is it more a cartoon style? Then you need to go to Illustrator. But all the basic characters in Character Animator are either Photoshop or Illustrator or both. Chloe shows both. So if you hover over one of those characters, you can see the Photoshop or Illustrator version. But this one is just Photoshop. This one is, I think, Illustrator. Yeah, and probably Kevin will show you a bit more of his approach. This one is from Kevin as well, the Ninja. Probably he will address that as well. But yeah, from my point of view, it's always depending on the style of the animation that you want to use. So let's go back to Character Animator. And then the scene, and I'm just gonna delete the background to get a transparent video again, and I'm gonna save it and start with Premiere Pro. Also a very cool tool to start working with when you are doing stuff in the world of video. So for the final part of this session, time is running out, but I'm gonna import my character, which is in here. This is my Character Animator project. So in Premiere Pro, you can import a Character Animator project directly, and all it will do is it will search for the scenes in there. I've got two: my own live show and the Chloe one. There we go. It will import it. Let's create a new sequence for it. A new timeline in Premiere Pro. And now I can just drag and drop it here. Keep existing settings. And we can see it was a white background inside of Character Animator, but it is transparent. So we can see the black background over here. I don't have a video over here, but I do have the same image I used just now. There we go. And this is how I would follow the lead, follow the workflow when you want to combine it with real video and interact with it. So yeah, I hope that answers that question as well. I think it does. And of course, the same workflow is with After Effects. Just import it, put it on a layer, and start animating. Any other questions, Caitlin?
Not at the moment. Then
I want to make some time for, because I'd like to use Character Animator as a teacher as well in my classroom. While we are so much online in these awful times with Corona, So I wanted to use a character animator in my Microsoft Teams meetings and Zoom meetings and all the classrooms that you can attend online. So I've created this little English spoken tutorial, which is in the chat right now, and that shows you how to use Character Animator in combination with all these online platforms when you want to stream live. It's a little bit more work, which doesn't fit within this hour of fun, but hopefully makes it clear for you to see what's possible with Character Animator. Quite a lot.
We have a quick question from Alan. It says, sure. Is there a market to buy characters?
Can you clarify that question?
I think he means, is there a way to buy additional characters that people have already created?
Definitely. But I am Dutch and I always like free stuff. That's from being Dutch. So we've got Heads of Curriculum. That's the website of Edge Game. And in here there are lots of characters to get your hands on, and these are free to use. So just make an account on this website and download these amazing characters. There are lots of other websites as well, which will be easy to find from the welcome screen of Character Animator. And there are tons of more options, but this will give you a starting point. So when you go to the See More option, we will see lots of cool characters, complete packs, and eventually you will find some that you need to pay for as well, which are more advanced. And of course, when you're using them commercially, of course, somebody needs to get paid for it. But there are lots of free stuff. There's lots of free stuff available as well. So yeah, lots of things to find. And of course, in this session, in the Spark page, we will provide 2 happy campers as well. Okay, if that's the final question. Then I'd like to remind you that we really appreciate it if you would share your videos made with Character Animator. Please go through the Spark page as well, in order to take a look at the other sessions and assets that we are providing. Have fun with Character Animator, we will final advertisement for my part. In the fall, I will create another competition again with Character Animator to motivate students around the world to start animating, creating great stuff. So keep your eyes out for the Character Animator competition 2020.